Hi there. Thanks for staying. And we get into the newspapers now, but a good point to start off when it comes to that living standard series that you just saw there. So people with real life situations in these harsh economic times. We're joined by energy analyst Kojo Poku, who is our guest. Mr. Poku, a very good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm very well. How about you?
I'm surviving. Woke up and by God's grace, we are alive. So why not?
Bruh, you are surviving. If you are
Eddie,
Anyone. Okay.
when the fuel price goes up, everybody buys fuel. So I mean, it's worried. So that one is survival.
Ayo, when some of you are saying adding, and to wait, for those of you who don't understand the chi, I see, he said he was basically surviving. And I tried to find out from him if he was surviving, then what would some of us be doing? And he's saying that, well, the economic times are what they are. This might just slip my mind, Kojo Poku. So let me quickly bring it in before we talk about the conditions or the standards of living. Are you aspiring to be president in 2024?
Yes.
Are you going to contest?
I'm cultivating the idea, yes. And I have started work consulting the grassroots to see if it's something that I can do.
Right. You've taken note of the CDDs. You've taken note of the CDDs reports and all the money politics and all of that is expected, and you're still willing to go into this. Do you have the wherewithal to chill with the big boys?
It's a very simple approach. Politics is about ideas, and it's about trying to tell people what you can do for this country. Politics is not about what you can give people to vote for you for this country. My approach is very simple. I'm going to go to the grassroots and tell them what I can do to change the standards at the party level and also to change and transform the country at the national level.
Okay.
I don't really have anything to give. You know, there are logistics that you need. Yes, everybody running for such high office should be able to come up with logistics. Right. Even if you are to visit 275 constituencies and there are chiefs in all these constituencies, you would have to pay homage. And when you go to the palace, you have to take schnapp.
So in other words, you're willing to fulfill the financial obligations. What will your party be called?
Well, no, I'm not willing to fulfill the 100 million they are talking about. I'm willing to do the logistics, but I'm not willing to find money to go and give to people.
What will your party be called? What will your party be called?
I'm a member of the MPP. I thought you knew that. I'm running on the ticket of the MPP.
Okay, I thought you were going to, but in terms of presidential ambitions, you want to contest in the MPP's primaries? Is that what you're going for?
Yes, okay. That's what I want to do. Yeah.
All right.
Look, clearly, let me give you an example. If I stand as an independent in Ashanti region, because of my popularity and the kind of person I am in that region, I will be taking votes from the MPP, and I don't think it's right.
Okay. Right, so let's look at some of what is happening now. I was just referring to you to our standard of living, segment that we've put together. And real life issues, people are complaining about the fact that maybe they're taking 1 square meal or maybe half of a square meal now and all of that. People are not going to the salon as frequently because the economic times are dire. Tied to that, we have teacher unions also wading into this bit about wanting more. The finance minister, Akufo-Addo, has accepted, he's conceded that these things that are coming through from UTAG and the rest are genuine, yet there are no funds. The teacher unions now say they want COLA. They want an increment in their condition of living allowances. And this statement that came to us recently is signed by NAT, NAGRAT, CCTGH, and TEU. It appears more and more pressure every day being piled on government. How does a Akufo-Addo administration deal with something like this?
Well, like I've always said, government is the biggest employer. And if you are not careful, what you take with the left, you give it back with the right. It's very simple. We need to fix what makes up basic expenditure for all Ghanaians. The reason we are poor and the reason we don't have enough money is because what is called your salary, okay, when you are paid a salary, You now take your basic obligation. What are our basic obligation? Our basic obligation is utilities, groceries for the house, school fees for your kids if you have any, transportation to work, and taking care of yourself. Okay. Now, when you take all these basic expenditure from your salary, the bottom line is that what is left? If there is none left, then obviously you don't have money to do anything else, so you are poor. Now, what some of us have been saying is that government is supposed to look at some of these things. Today, I mean, even phone calls, data for internet, all these things have become basic expenditure. So if, as a government, you allow the economy to run in such a way that utility is high, school fees are high because people no longer take their kids to the basic education, which is government education, which is free, but everybody has to take their kids to private education and they are charging dollars. Okay, so those are the factors that's affecting parents that don't have extra. Imagine if the basic education was working well. Now you have all these teacher unions asking for more money, but guess what? For the basic education, in the last 3 years, you've not given them any textbooks to teach. They are teaching ICT without computers. So if you have now made the government schools a place that parents can take their pupils, then the parent and the FQ can have a savings. But because we've not fixed those, and we are trying to spend money on things like STEM, which for me is not necessary, okay? You are now doing that to yourself as Ministry of Finance because you are spending money on things that does not address the problem of the middle class or the one trying to get by. Those are the problems. Everybody will still come and ask you for more unless you fix the basics, utility, groceries. Look, Consumer Protection Act. We've been trying to pass that act for how many years now?
Right.
But Consumer Protection Act can save people money, okay? People will bring quality products. I don't need to go and buy a bulb, and in 2 days it goes out and I go and buy a bulb again. I can't go to a shop and buy a product. I come home, it's not good, I can't take it back. There's no law governing these things. People bring inferior goods to Ghana and sell it to me and you at a very exorbitant price because there's nothing that checks that.
So we have all of these dynamics at play, and then we have a barrage of other issues. We have rocketing fuel prices, transport fares ticking up 15%, threats of more. And in fact, the 15% is not technically 15% because they roll over. Yesterday, I did the mathematics when the VIP, Mr. Frimpong Manso, was interacting with me. There's about a 25, 26 peswa increment on what they've added to make it 30 cedis. So they always round off, and it's always at the cost of the person who is, boarding these vehicles. But it gets even more interesting because in the midst of all of this, the cedi is now the worst performing currency on the African continent. The dalasi or the naira, all of these are trading better than the cedi. How much of a complication does that pose to us, especially in these times?
Okay, so you deal with things you can and leave the things you cannot control to basically be controlled by the international market. We don't control petrol prices, so that one you can't do anything about it. What you control, like I said, are the fundamental way of improving the lives of the people. The cedi, yes, we control. For the last 10, 15 years, what have we done as a nation? Everybody has done a talking shop on how we should eat the things we grow and eat made in Ghana and blah, 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 blah. It's only a talking shop. Nobody is really doing much about it. Recently, we've done the one district, one factory. It's going well, but it's not going as fast. It is not really taking effect to how it should take effect. So as a result, you are now having a higher dependability on foreign exchange for companies. Look, there is this MTN situation, and I honestly don't know why the government is encouraging that. Okay? MTN need huge amount of dollar to send out on every given time. There is this issue of companies like Fan Milk, other companies who are doing things important. Look, Fan Milk imports milk into Ghana. So imagine the foreign exchange that Fan Milk needs to send foreign exchange out to bring milk into the country. Meanwhile, what does it take to have a 10-year plan to have a dairy farm that can produce milk for Fan Milk? What does it take? Okay, so it is really looking at a situation that what do we need to fix the fundamental problem? For me, I have always said that deal with the things you can. With crude oil, we don't produce as much. And if we do produce as much, our refinery is sitting there, nothing. So even if we have the crude oil, we still can't refine it.
Right.
So the problem is this. Government should look at the things they can control and look at a long-term plan. Knee-jerk approach doesn't help us.
All right. Let's look at the papers and some of the stories in there. We'll resolve Utah gun pass. President promises, of course. We know the institutions also have a mind of their own in terms of the votes they've been casting. And at the University of Ghana, for example, you know, on pain of disobeying the court order and maybe creating a rift between teachers and the authorities, management, those are teachers as well. They are back in the classroom, but another strike is imminent. ECOWAS condemns military invasion of Ukraine. And speaking of Ukraine, there's also that story tied to it on page 5. Anger at treatment of Africans fleeing Ukraine. And Nigeria's government has condemned reports that its citizens and those of other African countries have been stopped from leaving war-torn Ukraine. Now, Kojo, can you imagine this? I was brought close to tears yesterday listening to the BBC. Because guess what? They were talking about the fact that Ukrainians and other people of, you could say, white coloring or Caucasian looking people were being allowed through, you know, to other countries' borders, passing through the borders. But some people with melanin, like we have, black people, were being restricted. Now, the white people were passing through even with their pets, and black people were being held behind. And imagine that, an animal going through and you, a human being, you know, being kept at bay. It wrenched my heart. I don't know. And what is your reaction to that, in addition to how much we've done so far in terms of the evacuation effort of Ghana?
Well, war is not a good thing. And most of our young ones in Ukraine are there studying. Some of them are there just trying to make ends meet. For me, I just think that we should have, when we knew the war was going to happen, we should have gotten people out quicker. You don't wait for war to happen, because we saw the amassing of military and it went on for 2 weeks. And that was enough warning for anybody to say that, look, get out. There was no way Putin was not going to go into Ukraine. It was something that it was a matter of when is he going to go into Ukraine. Again, the bureaucracy at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs did not get into action fast enough. We shouldn't have waited for the military to enter and the war to start to try and get people out. That was wrong, and that is wrong. The problem at the borders, I mean, I don't really have the facts, but if that's what is going on, it's very unfortunate. That part of the world are not that welcoming to black people. I've been to Moscow, and I went to Moscow, and you get to the airport, you can tell. I mean, they have a general policy of every black person that comes in is detained. Unless they can now further check. For me, I was lucky enough, the embassy in Russia was coming to, the ambassador has sent an envoy to come and meet me at the airport. So when they came in, then they let me go because I was a guest of the embassy. But that part of the world, I mean, they don't treat brown people. And you're saying black people. I think now the correct word to say is brown people. They don't treat brown people very well. But what I would say is this. We should know how to play diplomatic in international politics. I mean, what is going on in Ukraine and Russia is war. And before war, there is enough notice, enough intelligence for us Ghanaians, and the Ghana government should know that this was going to happen. It's unfortunate that we've left the kids there and we are now trying to get them out.
All right. ECOWAS condemns military invasion of Ukraine. That is also in the middle spread of the Ghanaian Times newspaper. The Daily Graphic capturing practically the same stories that the Ghanaian Times newspaper captures. But let me run this by you, lest I forget. It feeds into this entire bit about leadership discourse. I'm sure you followed bits of that Solidaire Ghana lecture and the likes of Professor Tuguba and some of what they said, that if we do not act quickly, we may have a coup on our hands. And coup here, I say it in the proper respect, a coup d'etat, so to speak. And mind you, I am not suggesting it. These are words that have been used. And it has to do with the fact that Ghana is broke, radically broke, if you like. And a broke economy is one of the justifications for all coup d'etats. We've seen it in different parts of Africa in the past. Even now, it's being used as justification. How do you react to that? Is that blunt wisdom, or is it a picture we shouldn't be willing to even talk about?
Well, since you said blunt wisdom, let me use your words and just say blunt stupidity. Anybody who wants to entertain that thought, I mean, has not lived in this country from 79 till God knows when we got out of it. If people want to go back sleeping at 6 o'clock, that's fine. I mean, I don't have, let the youth, I think for me, I mean, I have a very simple
these are people, mind you, the speakers at this event are people who have lived through this era. These are people who know the law as well, who are doyens of the law. In fact, Professor Tukuba, a dean of the dean of the University of Ghana Faculty of Law.
My dear, we keep saying that people have lived through this era. Let's find out where they were during that time. Some of these people were in the villages. They were not in the city centers like some of us, and saw what was happening. Some of them did not witness what was happening. Okay, so they probably heard it and thought that I have not seen it, so it's not as bad. Look, if you witness what happened in 79 and 81, nobody, me, I witnessed it firsthand. So I would never talk of it.
Does not witnessing it firsthand, I have been through war experiences, does not witnessing it firsthand take away from the reality of the fact that across the world, economic matters tend to breed, some of these matters. You remember the Arab Spring? It took one person, pouring some petrol product over himself and setting himself ablaze. That was what triggered it, on the back of what? Harsh economic times and so many other things.
Well, I honestly don't think that harsh economic times on its own is a reason for those revolutions. I always think that there's international pressures beneath. The Arab Spring was really the Western pressures beneath to get those people to clear certain people they didn't want to clear. What did Arab Spring got to do with what happened in Syria? What did Arab Spring got to do with what happened in Egypt and Libya? You can't tell me that people in Libya were under economic hardship. Then what is it today? Let's just oppose what Gaddafi was and what Libya was to what Libya is today. So anybody who wants those kind of movements should look at the pre and the after. Let's look at what Libya is today. Is it any better than what it was when Gaddafi was there? No, it's not. Has the killing stopped? No, it's not. Are people more poorer? Yes, they are. Look, go into history in Ghana, and yes, people have used those sentiments to always get people to come onto the streets. But the alternative, which is military rule, has never solved our problem.
All right, let's look at the Finder newspaper. WIAC releases 2021 BEC results. There's also special desk created at KIA for travelers using the Ghana card. E-levy will expand tax base for sustained development, reduce debt burden. I was listening recently to the majority leader, Oseiche Mensah-Bonsu, who was pointing out that maybe the sort of fierce, vehement pushback that the E-levy has seen was not anticipated by their side. That if they had foreseen, it's a tax, but if they had foreseen that there would be so much, maybe they would have done more groundwork. And still we're in the throes of it. I've heard, I think the first deputy speaker as well say that they are not letting go of it. They will come back to it. How do you think this E-levy can finally see the light of day? Looking at the Adwoa-Safo situation, looking at the fact that we hear, and there's no smoke without fire, that a number of MPs on both sides are not so well and all of that. Is it practical? Should government start looking away from the E-levy?
Look, when the parliamentary situation got worse, government decided to now do consultation. Government still is not convinced. If you listen to what the president said, if the president has the number, he will still pass the E-levy, regardless of what everybody have said. The president still believes, after all tax experts have said that, look, the E-levy does not expand the tax base, and it does not. I don't know where the politicians don't get this. I am surprised the majority leader, after all that he's heard, is trying to push something that Ghanaians have said that, look, this does not solve our problem. It double tax a lot of people. It multiple tax a lot of people. Okay? So why do you want to now multiple tax individual for one set of money that they have? Why do we want to do that? Look, the E-levy, I am a proponent for tax revenue. We need to collect more tax as a nation. The E-levy in its current form does not do that. It does not expand the tax net. It only does it in a small fraction. The way that we need to bring everybody on board, it does not do that. So let's not kid ourselves. If the parliamentarians who get the numbers, they will tell all of us to F off and they will pass it. The reason they can't pass it is not because we don't like it or we don't understand it. They just don't have the numbers. And I have said this day and day. There are a lot of things that for us as civil society, we've always told government this policy is not good, this agreement is not good. And they've gone ahead and passed it with the numbers that they have without listening to some of us. So it's not that they care, they don't. I mean, if we are to practice democracy, then they should listen. Because we Ghanaians overwhelmingly have said that, look, this E-levy at its current stage, one, does not address the problem you want to address. So what is the difficulty with that?
And speaking of this Kabi bit, just to wrap on these 2 points very, very quickly, Kojopoku, there's the issue, it just came to mind, of the Fomena MP. The driver started for him to be not contested or to not be contested in election 2024. That is, even in the primary, so that he stands as the candidate of the MPP. Mind you, he's an independent candidate. He's associated with the MPP's caucus in Parliament, helping them to become the majority. You know the situation. He left the MPP, became independent, won, and now he's joined their caucus. Do you support that versus democracy? Let everybody go through the process. Do you support that for the Fomena MP?
I don't support that for anybody. I don't support that thing at all. That theory is rubbish. That thing where people want to be not contested, that's not democracy. That's selected justice. Why is that democracy?
But why do you call it rubbish? I mean, it is to ensure that the fortunes of the party are maintained, are protected.
No, but so that everybody can make a case for that. Look, we've been doing this selectively, and that is what led to independent candidates. Okay, we've been doing that for selected individuals. Why can't we make that for the 275? So we'll get to a point where out of the 275 MPs, maybe 100 of them are indispensable in our mind, so they are protected and not contested. It's wrong. If they are that popular, you see, this is what the democracy is. If he is popular, he is a people's representative. He represents his people. People think that they come to parliament and because of parliamentary work, they should be maintained. No, that is not what you do. You represent your people. Go to your people, let your people admit you, then come back to parliament. If not, you lose. It's simple.
All right.
Look, have you seen the problems in the grassroots with just picking of forms? People just don't want to have a democracy. If we don't want a democracy, let's throw the democracy away and do what we want.
Okay.
But let's not, you see, this thing comes on every 4 years, and for me, it's very upsetting.
Right.
Because that thing of he should go unopposed. Oh, because of this reason, he should be contested. No, I'm sorry. If you are able to go to the constituency, okay, and at the constituency level, get a general consensus of the people, then he stands and he gets 100%.
All right. Just a quick bit on this. My GDP growth better than Mohammed's. That's according to Nana Dodonko Akufo-Addo. And that's on the front page of the Daily Guide newspaper. I listened, I watched people, react to this on social media yesterday in respect of what the president had been saying, still referencing Mohammed's economy versus his, and it was savage. Let me just leave it at that. How do you respond to this? The fact that people are talking about the price of bread, the price of kenke. We can't go to the salon like you saw in our Living Standard series and all of that. But Mr. President is still referencing the former president and his economic performance.
Well, you see, I think fiscal policies and these numbers means little to the average Ghanaian. And I think we are in times that people who advise the president and the Ministry of Finance should really find a message for Ghanaians. Talking about GDP is not really going to hit home with Ghanaians now because of all the growth you are experiencing. Bear in mind, if you are at a certain stage of development and you went to zero because of COVID, going back to the stage where you were will be much faster than it would have been if you are kept there. So yes, Ghana is doing well in terms of growth, where we went to in COVID and we are trying to recover. So the growth is better. But I don't think that it's a message. GDP and all these things are no longer a message for Ghanaians. Ghanaians are not looking at those things because that has not helped them. Ghanaians are looking for things that will help them. What will help them? Okay, not having textbooks for kids for 3 years is what will help them.
All right. Kojo, we'll have to leave it here. Always interesting sharing thoughts with you with that wry smile on your face. But thank you so much and do have a lovely day, Kojo.
Thank you very much and have a nice day too, my brother.
All right. That's how we wrap it up as far as the news review is concerned. There's a lot more coming your way as there are a raft of bans on Russia in sports. More news with Muftau Nabila Abdullahi. That's up next.